thank you to you all for attending Digital Isle 2022. So I'm here to provide an update of what we've achieved so far this year. At this event last year, I stood for you and I gave you some ambitious targets of what we hope to achieve. And during today's update, I want to provide you some clarity about how we've achieved against those targets, which ones we've met and which ones we haven't met. And I also want to talk through what our ambitions are for the next year. Those ambitions for next year are on your tables or on your chairs. It is this programme you have in front of you. I'm going to be giving you a whistle-stop tour of that through today's talk. But this is a draft programme, and really the purpose of today's event is to enable you to deep dive into each one of these initiatives and to provide us with feedback of your thoughts. There is an email address on the back of the programme, and it's here, contact-digital@gov.im. And I'd urge all of you to go through today's event, scribble on the programme, take notes, and provide that feedback back to us. We will then incorporate your feedback into a final version of the programme for the end of the year. This is your programme as much as it is ours, so it's really important that we do this together, and hence taking this approach to make sure we get that feedback. Okay, so last year we had 6 initiatives that we focused on. E-gaming, which is our most mature sector, fintech and blockchain, esports, Internet of Things, skills, and infrastructure. As we move forward to 2023, that's going to change subtly. We continue with e-gaming. We drive fintech, dropping the term blockchain, although blockchain is part of fintech. Esports is going to have a refreshed strategy. IoT stops being technology focused and starts becoming outcome focused, and we call it a Smart Island with a revised strategy. We have a new initiative around data, in terms of how data can drive our economy forward. We have a concept of a digital academy that we want to discuss and try to drive forward. And we continue our journey on improving the infrastructure of the Isle of Man. So let's look back. Last year we said we wanted to drive the continued growth of the e-gaming sector in the Isle of Man. We set a target of 180 new jobs in the sector in 2022. So I think currently we're at 186 new jobs delivered so far this year, so we have already exceeded this target, which is fantastic. We had a target to grow to 70 live licenses by the end of 2022. Just recently that's risen to 74 live licenses on the Isle of Man. And we said we were going to identify 3 new markets by the middle of 2022. We have identified 1. I think as we try to look through these markets, I think we know what 3 markets we'd look at would be, but the effort to break into a new market is substantial. Trying to break into 3 new markets simultaneously seemed like it wasn't the best approach. It wasn't going to allow us to do it properly. So we have been focusing on the Latin America market, which is newly regulating at the moment. Myself and some of the team were in Miami, and some of our partners in the room were in Miami at the Latin America SBC conference last week. And we were trying to meet with other governments and regulators to understand how the Isle of Man license and the Isle of Man can offer support and be relevant in that new market. It is a huge effort to do this, and as I say, if we start trying to spread too thinly, not only will we probably not achieve our goals, we will also not have the opportunity to learn from our mistakes as we go through this journey. So very much focused on 1 market for now. So looking forward to next year, we still want to drive the continued growth of the sector and the supporting ecosystem. We have set a target for 200 jobs in this area. With it being a mature sector, we're essentially trying to drive a 10% year-on-year growth. So 200 jobs is our target for 2023. We want to grow to a total of 80 live GSE licenses by the end of 2023. And at least 2 of those licenses we want to be delivered into new markets. So that's really a continuation of what we've tried to deliver next year. We will continue to look at new markets as well, and if you look at your programme, there's a whole set of other actions that sit beneath these key measures of success that really put a bit more flesh on the bones. But we've been very fortunate that our e-gaming strategy has been very successful, and we'll continue to see that growth. We do need to add some new strings to our bow. We need to look at new products. We need to look at new ways of regulating to make sure that we remain relevant in the global market. So moving on to fintech and blockchain. We wanted to drive the continued growth of blockchain sector in the Isle of Man and widen into fintech businesses. We had a target of 40 new jobs in this area for 2022. We are actually at 61 new jobs currently, and we expect to probably hit 75 by the end of the year. So we've vastly exceeded that target, which is fantastic. We were to propose an innovation hub concept to the FSA, working with the FSA and Finance Isle of Man by the middle of this year. And we have achieved that, and we're looking to formalise that construct as we move into the new year. And we had a relatively vague key measure of success to create and implement a content strategy to attract fintech businesses to the Isle of Man. Last year, Tina Roth, the CEO of the FSA, announced that we were going to run a fintech innovation challenge, and we have been working on that substantially through this year. And we'll be talking more around that challenge through the day. But that is essentially our content strategy, our mechanism to drive fintech businesses to the island and to make sure that we have the strong fintech foundations we need to be able to build and to create a fintech ecosystem. So looking forward to 2023, we want to establish that wider fintech ecosystem and collaborate even more with Finance Isle of Man and the Isle of Man FSA. We're looking to create 80 new jobs in fintech, which includes blockchain, in 2023. We'd like to see 10 new fintech businesses registered as a Designated Business Act in 2023, with 4 new fintech-related live licenses in 2023. What we're really going to be doing is using the FinTech Innovation Challenge to drive a lot of this forward and to really put ourselves out there as a jurisdiction interested in this particular space. This isn't something that Digital Isle of Man are doing alone. We're very much doing it in partnership with Finance Isle of Man and the FSA as well. So it's a tri-party collaboration to make sure we drive this forward. Esports. Esports is a sector that has a lot of interest. It's new, it's shiny, and it's exciting. We said we wanted to create an esports sector on the Isle of Man last year, and we had a target of 20 new jobs created in the esports sector in 2022. Of those 20, we haven't achieved any. We have a total of 2 jobs in the pipeline. So it's needless to say, this is far more challenging than we expected. That isn't to say that we haven't achieved anything this year. So we said we were going to deliver a programme to upskill the on-island businesses. We've delivered 3 workshops to businesses. I think they were very well received. And we said we were going to document the sector's regulatory needs by the end of 2022. We ran a workshop in Wembley around an esports event earlier in the year. We invited global participants in the esports industry to participate, and we documented their regulatory needs. And I think it's fair to say we miscalculated their readiness for regulation as an industry. And there were some real concerns about what regulation would mean to them in their current maturity cycle. What this does mean is we need to take the opportunity to look at the strategy. In fact, we did this about a month ago with the digital board. We sat down and tried to understand whether this is an initiative we do move forward with. And unanimously, the board agreed we should move forward with this, but the strategy does need to be refreshed. So we're working on that strategy refresh at the moment. Regulation is still a key hook for us in a strategy, but it's a little bit further down the line than we had anticipated. So we need to understand how to build critical mass and how to build interest in the island in the short term before we can start using that regulatory hook to really drive this forward. So as we look to 2023, we've got a view to establish an esports stroke video gaming presence. So video gaming is essentially 100 times bigger than the esports market, so we're looking at potentially widening out that market. It's an option, not a decision at this point. But we want to grow that presence on the Isle of Man, and we want to publish a revised strategy. We'd like to bring the first esports or video gaming companies to the Isle of Man, resulting in 10 new jobs. So lower than we had last year, but with a recognition that this is quite difficult to do. We have very, very little of this on the island at the moment, so it's trying to create that critical mass. Importantly, we also want to make sure we have 10 new esports or video gaming clients supported by our on-island businesses. It's important that we're looking to grow the economy, that we're looking to grow the businesses we already have here on the island. And those businesses need to be able to sell to more markets. And that's why we spent the time with businesses going through workshops, explaining what this sector is, how it differs from the sectors that we're used to. And if we can start seeing those clients coming in and being supported by our local businesses, we know that we're starting to build a presence, we're starting to build a reputation, and we're starting to grow the economy in this area. And we need to review the island's regulatory approach to esports and refresh that strategy accordingly. We need to understand whether the esports industry is ready for this, for regulation, or when they are, whether it's a smaller subsection of the industry that needs it now, rather than all of it. So there's quite a lot of deep diving we need to do to bring the right people together internationally to understand, again, how the Isle of Man can be relevant in this sector. It is challenging, and I think we recognise we didn't hit all of our goals last year, but creating a new sector on the Isle of Man is a challenging prospect. We're not necessarily going to win every single time. We do need to review and reflect whether these things are the right things to do. The esports and video gaming industry is huge, and it is not that different to some of the other sectors we work with and some of the challenges they face. So we are confident that there is an opportunity here. We need to make sure that we create a programme of work that's going to release that opportunity. Internet of Things. So again, this is another area that's been quite interesting, a little bit different to the previous three that I've talked about. Last year we said we wanted to grow the Isle of Man economy through IoT. We said we were going to deliver 8 new IoT projects by the end of this year. We have delivered 6 new projects so far, and when I say delivered, I'm talking about projects where we've got sensors out on the island and that we've got data that is available and being captured. We have 2 more new other projects that are in development, and we expect them to be complete by the end of the year, so we feel we're on target for that. With an objective to make IoT publicly accessible by the end of this year. We have IoT data available, but it's not publicly accessible at this stage. The reason for this is that we need to develop a data distribution platform for government, and that needs to be done with GTS, and it probably needs to be a platform that's wider than just distributing IoT data. We feel that there's a strong argument to make as much government data accessible as possible through that platform. That's aligned with the GTS strategy, so we're working with GTS to deliver that hopefully next year. And that's where the Smart Island visualization also comes into this as well. So whilst we can allow data to be accessible, and when I talk about accessible, I'm not talking about just data on a page, I'm talking about APIs, where we really want to put this data in the hands of society and businesses on the island. But alongside that data, there needs to be a data visualization engine so that people can create reports and get insights into not just IoT data, but wider government data. So looking forward to 2023, as I said earlier, we've rebranded this Smart Island. So it's more around the outcomes rather than the technology. And our objective is to drive a culture of smart government to show businesses and citizens the tangible benefits of real-time open data leading to smarter decisions. We want to provide a data distribution platform and visualization by the end of 2023 in partnership with GTS that will be available to information wider than just IoT. We want to identify and engage Smart Island champions across all 8 government departments. So the key to this is really cross-government working and government sponsorship in each of these areas. We've started this journey, and when we start having conversations with people, whether it be in health or whether it be in infrastructure, we have some amazingly innovative conversations around simple solutions that will benefit just about everybody on the island. There is a huge amount of opportunity here. It's just a case of getting people to understand what it is, how Digital Isle of Man can accelerate the thinking, how we can provide the technology and the components to create proof of concept for them to build business cases that will allow them to release that value. So then finally, we want to create 12 new projects and put them in the public domain by the end of 2023. I do want those 12 projects to be bigger than the projects that we've delivered this year, more ambitious, and more public as well. So again, we've started this journey already. We've got some good ideas being considered. I don't want to steal the thunder from later on presentations, so I'll leave that to there. But I think there is it's important that government leads the way on this and shows what we can do, release that data, and I believe we'll then see businesses and society follow suit and come up with even more innovative ideas and creativity in this space. Data. So this is a new initiative that we're focusing on. It was one of the key pillars that came out of the KPMG economic strategy. There are 3 areas of opportunity that were identified: knowledge, green, and data. So we have an objective to leverage the island's regulatory framework and security to offer a unique proposition for data businesses. Off the back of the economic strategy, we commissioned KPMG to do a deep dive into the opportunities around data, and we actually just received a draft report earlier this week. We need to complete the analysis of options available to us on the island and consider what the recommended actions are and how to move this forward. We need to develop and agree a programme plan to deliver an approach to release the benefits to the island. And we need to create a governance structure required to ensure the plan's resourced and funded. So this is a very much early days concept where we need to develop that plan and bring it forward. I would expect that we would identify a number of quick wins that we can deliver through next year, but I would also expect that we have a longer term programme plan in the region of 3 to 4 years where we need to make regulatory changes in order to release some of this value. We'll work with KPMG and with the broader ecosystem and people in this room to try to understand this in a bit more detail and develop that plan through next year. Another new concept for 2023 is a digital academy. So you may have noticed I've skipped over skills, which was one of our initiatives of last year. Skills has moved more centrally within the government. There's now a skills and workforce strategy that is being developed. Skills is a common issue across all of the agencies and across the island that we need to address. We have had some success with developing our digital literacy programme this year. In partnership with Business Isle of Man, we delivered STEMfest. But the overall programme does need to be owned centrally. There's so much crossover across everything we're trying to do. However, we in the digital sector have a particular set of skills that we know that we need and we know that we're lacking. So we hope to establish a centre of digital learning, open and free to all, which will be appropriate for business and individual needs on the island. This isn't a brand new concept. This is actually a concept that we have understood has been working in other similar sized jurisdictions. So rather than reinventing the wheel ourselves, we're looking to do this in partnership with others. I think that this is massively important for us in the economic strategy. It talks about having a campus, it talks about the importance of pulling these skills together. Whether these are in-face or remote courses is something that we need to understand and develop, but I think we can all agree is critically important. So our key measures of success on this is to investigate the opportunities and create joint learning initiatives with other jurisdictions, to develop and agree a plan to provide a digital academy which benefits the Isle of Man, and secure political support and funding to provide a digital learning programme to the Isle of Man as well. So again, this is an embryonic initiative that we still need to get the mandate to be able to deliver. But given the assets that we currently have and the conversations we've had with other jurisdictions today, I feel this is something we can move forward at quite a pace through next year. And when it comes to skills, the sooner we can solve some of these problems, the better. And infrastructure, often one that gets forgotten but incredibly important, apart from those of us waiting for fibre, of course. In 2022, we said we were going to develop and exploit the island's connectivity infrastructure. We wanted to continue the National Broadband Plan, and we had a target of 70% of homes passed by the end of 2022. We're currently at 74%, so we've exceeded that, which is good news. Wanted to report on opportunities to commercially launch 5G by the end of 2022. We have developed that report and acknowledge that we are not ready to commercially launch 5G yet, but we are keeping a watching brief on that, and we will be refreshing that report through the coming year. And we wanted to develop a data-centric strategy for the Isle of Man by the end of 2022, and that is essentially the data initiative that I talked through earlier. I've marked that as 75% complete because we have a draft report and we still need to work through that, but we have been moving forward on that one. So as we look forward to 2023, the objective changes somewhat. We want to finalise the remaining elements of the National Telecom Strategy, focus on driving more connections to fibre whilst monitoring the sector for any emerging priorities. So by the end of next year, we expect 90% of homes on the Isle of Man to have be passed by fibre. And that's great. But if we're really going to release the value of fibre, we need to get people to connect to it. So we want to improve the connections to the fibre network from 30%, which it is currently, to 50%. That's actually quite high compared to comparative jurisdictions. Given the need for everyone to have good connectivity and the desire, if you look at all the comments on Facebook, that I think we should be able to drive that forward. We also need to agree a proposition to connect the final 1% of homes unable to connect to fibre network. Some of you may recall, the National Telecom Strategy had a target of 99% homes passed by fibre. So there will always be some of those more remote homes that need other access through other technology. So we need to drive that forward too. Okay, so there's quite a lot there. Why are we doing this? I think it's important to reflect on our role here is to drive the economy, and how are we doing that? Well, through the plan for 2023, we have a target overall of 300 jobs, to newly create jobs for the Digital Isle of Man. That provides £4.6 million of exchequer benefit each year. So that in itself is a fantastic benefit. For our GSC licences and the duty it creates, our GSC licences, if we have 80 licences next year, provides £2.7 million worth of revenue. And the duty is 3.6. So we create £6.3 million worth of revenue per annum through our GSC licensing alone. So that gives us in the region of £11 million worth of exchequer benefit per year, just on this 1 year's programme. We've generated around just under 10 million this year, which will again be repeated through next year. So we are really growing the economy and creating exchequer benefit by the actions that we take. However, that's not really the main benefit of what we're looking to do here. We're building the foundation for future growth and opportunity. And that's why we're seeing things like the Digital Academy, Smart Island, esports. It's about creating things which may not develop real jobs in year one, but will create the foundations for real jobs and real economic benefit as we drive forward. And that's really our focus here. And I think for me, that's really what makes the programme exciting. So I'll ask you again and remind you just to have a look at your programmes that you have in front of you, scribble over them, and please do send us your feedback. Doesn't matter how positive or negative, this is your programme as much as it ours. So please do take the time to email us and we will take all of that into consideration. Thank you very much for listening and enjoy the rest of the day.